Throughout NBA history, there have been multiple players that put up numbers that are worthy of winning the MVP award, but somehow in some way they will never receive the award even though they had better numbers, but that player who won the award also put up MVP numbers while simply having a better record, 2018 for instance. Now there are plenty of instances where a player put up incredible numbers who do not have the best record in the league. For example, Jordan in '88 had a 50-32 record, but they had the third seed in the Eastern Conference, while the Celtics that year were the first seed, but they only won 7 more games, which was a small sample size. And there was literally no one who was more valuable and better than Jordan that season. And of course, Russell Westbrook in 2017 averaged a triple-double and led OKC to a top 6 seed in the Western Conference, and Nikola Jokic in both 2021 and 22. But there are players in history that I believe are quintessential MVP snubs. 2011 Bron, this year's Jokic, 01 Shaq, hell, 73 Kareem, and etc. But the biggest MVP snub of all time, the guy that was actually robbed of MVP, is actually 97 Michael Jordan. So in this video, we finna discuss why the GOAT in 1997 is the biggest MVP snub of all time. Hey man, say man. This is the A-Man Show, back at it again for more content. Make sure y'all subscribe. I post NBA and NFL content. Turn on post notifications so that way y'all don't miss anything new. Anyways, stay tuned and let's get the video started. The 97 Bulls is basically the 96 Bulls, but with less wins and more losses. Yeah, just a worse team. Aside from that, this is the same team that have the best record in the NBA in 97. They were number 1 in offensive rating and 4th in defensive rating, and it was led by, of course, Michael Jordan. This is one of the biggest what-ifs of his storied career. What if he won 6 MVPs? Most particularly, could have been the 4th player in history to win 3 straight MVPs. The last players who've done that were Bird, Will Chamberlain, and Bill Russell. In the 97 season, Jordan led the league in points for the 9th time with 30 per game, along with 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 49% from the field, shot 37% from 3 on 4 attempts, and 83% from the charity stripe. Not to mention, Jordan led the Bulls to the best record in the NBA that year. Now, I know people are going to come at me and tell me, oh, Jordan may have had the best stats that year, but Malone had the most impact out of every player in the league that season. That is inaccurate because Jordan that year led the league in offensive win shares, boss plus minus, and value over replacement, along with putting up better overall numbers than Malone while leading his team to the best record in the NBA. If that doesn't tell you that Jordan was absolutely robbed of MVP that year, then I don't know what is. Aside from Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc, there hasn't been a player on the Bulls who averaged double digits. Meanwhile, Karl Malone had 3 players that were averaging double digits that year, and Jordan managed to lead the Bulls with the best offensive rating in the league, and also been the culprit for the Bulls leading the NBA in points per game. This was clearly a voter fatigue situation where a particular player won multiple MVPs, but in this singular season met all the criteria for him to win the award, but ultimately doesn't, because the voters want to give other players who did put up MVP numbers but doesn't deserve it as much as the other player. And in this particular situation, the voters are simply tired of giving the MVP to Jordan, even though he was the clear most valuable player in the league that year, and instead gave to Karl Malone, who did put up MVP numbers, but doesn't have the same impact nor put up better numbers than Jordan. I truly believe that voter fatigue is one of the worst things about the NBA, because voters want to focus on a player that won multiple MVPs as a means to not giving them the award rather than focusing solely on the season alone. We look at LeBron, especially in the early 2010s, specifically in 2011, even though Derrick Rose led the Bulls to 6 more wins that year, LeBron had better overall numbers, and also looking at the advanced numbers, LeBron led the NBA in offensive win shares, overall win shares, box plus minus, and value over replacement. LeBron that year was the bigger MVP snub in 2011 compared to 2018, because everyone out here is making the claim that 2018 was the year that LeBron should have won MVP, when really it was 2011. Despite the Bulls having 6 more wins than the Heat, LeBron was the better and more valuable player than D Rose in 2011. The only reason why he's short from Jordan It's because at least Derrick Rose had more wins that year compared to Jordan. Whereas Jordan had the impact and stats and led the Bulls to more wins than Malone in 1997. Hell, I'll give y'all another example. Let's look at Jokic this year, where the Joker was clearly the most valuable player in the NBA that year, but Joel Embiid was the one to take home the award. Another instance of voter fatigue. When a player wins multiple MVPs, and in this particular season has all the criteria for him to be the MVP of that season, but instead go for the other guy who don't even fucking deserve it. And it really concerns me how voters focus so much on the player winning so many MVPs, but in this particular season, it was clear that this same guy was the most valuable player in the NBA that year. Therefore, he deserves to win the MVP that year. No matter if it's his third, fourth, or even fifth consecutive award. If a player was the most valuable player of that season, he should be the MVP. No matter how many MVPs he won in the past, and giving the MVP to a guy who we all knew that he should have received that award, Joel Embiid for instance, all because the voters wanted to see a different player winning MVP, that is the most bullshit thing about the MVP voting. Looking at Joel Embiid's MVP season, we all knew that it was a sympathy award because of how Embiid complained about him not winning the MVP despite him putting up these numbers, and most especially his abysmal playoff performance last year. And I've already made multiple points of why Jokic should have been that year's MVP due to the amount of Jokic videos I've made in the past month and two. There should have been more players who won 3 straight consecutive MVPs. LeBron should have won MVP in 2011, even though I'm not taking away from Derrick Rose, but let's be honest, LeBron was a more valuable player than Rose that year. And of course, Jokic, and most importantly, Jordan. Jordan should have been the second player in modern NBA history to have received 3 straight MVPs, and should have tied Kareem for the most MVPs in NBA history. And in that 1997 season was a straight up robbery at its finest. Honestly, I don't know what the voters were thinking giving Karl Malone, a guy who simply had a worse season than Jordan that year. Then again, it's voter fatigue. But at least Jordan went into the playoffs red hot and, the rest is history. So 97 Jordan has to be the biggest MVP snub in NBA history. There hasn't been a player who has the numbers, impact, and led the team to the best record in the NBA, but didn't win the MVP. At least all the guys that won the MVP over the guys that deserved it more had more wins, but in this case, Jordan was clearly better and more valuable in every category that season than Malone. And I think that is what makes that season stand out the most. So 97 Jordan has to be the most snubbed MVP in NBA history. Hopefully sometime in the future, the NBA will eliminate voter fatigue once and for all. And that's the video. Let me know what y'all think about this vid. What are the other MVP snubs in history y'all like to mention? And again, let me know in the comment section below. And make sure y'all subscribe for more NBA and NFL videos in the future. Turn on post notifications, and that is all. Stay litty. This is the A-Man Show. Sign out.